Hey, how is everybody? Good, good. Now, as you probably recognize, my name is Justin Raju, and I am 36 years old. I cannot swim, unfortunately, and I live in a van down by the river. Now, as of note, recently I am AXIOM's new youth pastor. So today we will be doing something that I like to call Wednesday Night Live, where we take a special guest and interview them about their moronic life choices. Now, today's guest, scratch that. Happy April Fool's Day, AXIOM, and enjoy Wednesday Night Live.
Hey everybody, welcome to Wednesday Night Live. We started with a video of Caleb. Thanks to Caleb for that. If it did not come through, we will repost it. But for now, we'll get this show started. Thanks for tuning in. I just want to start with a couple of things. First of all, I've been blessed to have a small crew of people that have helped to put this together. That'd be Jake and Julia. Jake is going to be joining me in the co-host chair tonight. We're going to have a little bit of conversation. We are following some very strict protocols here. So we're coming in, we're sanitizing, we're wiping everything down. We've extended our distance here, so we have a good 6 feet between us. And so we should be, we're trying to work that through. The purpose of the live stream for us is it's a moment for us to come together as a group all at once and still connect. And it's something that as long as we are able to, we'd like to continue to keep doing and provide this as a moment for us to still come together and be together every Wednesday in one way, shape, or another. We might have to, over time, adapt what we do and how we do it and figure out some new and different ways to connect. But each week we're going to try something, and so I'd encourage you to keep tuning in, keep being a part of what's here, commenting in the live stream chat. Julia's on that, and so you can say hello to her and see how she's doing. Tonight, I am pleased and excited to have Mr. Jake Shakatano with us, and he has been a very, very good friend. And how you doing tonight, Jake?
I'm good.
We are distanced from each other. You're so far away.
I know. As a very outgoing person, this is killing me. Not getting to hug people, it's just really hard for me. I feel like as someone who I feel like it's part of my ministry. I feel very gimped right now.
I can see that. Yeah. For me, it's I'm a little bit more introverted, but being at Rock Point has turned me into a hugger. And so it's like every time I'm in this building, it's just automatic.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh no, can't,
It's really hard.
What do you think of my outfit tonight?
It's an amazing blout fit.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm feeling blue today.
I was going with the black blout fit. Is that a thing? Black fit? Black blout fit.
So it was requested of me a couple weeks ago to do a blout fit. I decided that tonight would be the night. And then I have tagged 3 very special people to also do a blout fit with me. So if we can toss that picture up real quick. All right, so this is Megan Simon, Olivia Simon, and Sean Edgehill. And they are looking wonderful and beautiful
Fabulous.
In their blout
wow,
fits.
Look at that.
So I've tagged these 3, and I'm putting the challenge now out to all of you. These are the people that they decided to tag. We can throw that photo up.
Dedication.
So that's Abriana Badalmente, Kayla Freeman, Jackson Babbage, McKenna Mead, Haley Glozinski, Kenny Kent, Rebecca Smith, Gabby Pryor, and Troy Davis. You have been challenged to show your best bloutfit. So you can go ahead, you can send those to axiom@rockpoint.org. You can post them to Instagram and tag us at AXIOM Students, with the hashtag AXIOM Tag, and we'll feature those. So yeah, AXIOM Tag, you guys are it. Post your best bloutfit picture, and we will get you there.
So wait, do they have to be all blue outfits, or is it like just one color outfit? These are speculations here.
I mean, I think in terms of like how bloutfits work, I don't think it's like it has to be blue.
Okay.
I think it'd be like in those
Yeah,
pictures.
I'm new to bloutfits. I didn't know
I'm new
that.
to it too. I didn't know what they were before.
So then
this.
they should come up with a better word because it's a little confusing.
Well, I mean, it's a bloutfit. It's your top and your bottom being the same color. That's kind of,
okay.
At least that's my understanding
Fair.
of it. I might be wrong. But yeah, you guys tag your it. Anyone else who wants to jump in, like I said, just send a picture to axiom@rockpoint.org. There'll be details in the description after this. You can load that up. And for those of you that have been tagged, I expect to see those bloutfits in full display. Send us a picture, and we'll get that going. So that was just a little thing for us to kind of have a little bit of fun in this time.
Did you notice it kind of looks like we have like a colorful hat behind us?
It's a
like
halo.
I'm a Smurf.
It's a halo.
Oh, right.
That's
right.
because we're heavenly.
It was intentional.
We are in church. You're the one that set up the lights. So,
Yeah.
I mean.
Well, we moved the tables, and now it looks pretty hilarious. I'm just commenting. I can just see it. It's pretty hilarious.
Bit awkward.
Yeah.
You know what? I have always enjoyed our dynamic. There's a sense of like how we relate to each other. It's just. Do you remember the Strange Fire video?
Oh, absolutely.
Strange Fire.
Look at this. This is classic. Hold on.
Why are you being so weird right now?
I don't know. I'm sorry. I haven't been on camera in a long time, so.
You're always one who's behind.
Stressful.
You're behind.
I know. That's why I'm wearing black. Did you guys notice you enjoying the jams? I am your DJ for Wednesday Night Live. So whenever you hear some awesome music or mediocre music, that's me. So.
You are a man of many talents. You are a photographer. You are a guitarist. You started out as a drummer, correct?
Yeah, started on the drums.
So what are all the instruments / tools that you know how to use?
I'll just be as brief as I can. I consider a lot of these things the right side of the brain. So in terms of music and art and all those other things, I don't consider it like whoa, that's amazing. To me, it's like all part of the same, part. So I started on drums. My brother was a drummer, and I was like, that's cool. We had a drum set in the garage, learned how to play, and then my brother started learning guitar, and I'm like, well, of course, I want to learn how to play guitar too. He learned how to sing and play, so of course we're like learning together. He's like showing me and teaching me. One of the first songs I ever learned was What Hurts the Most by Rascal Flatts, because it had a really cool guitar riff in it.
Song.
I know, it's very, very random. And then as I kept learning and playing, I learned more of like the piano, the bass. There's pretty much, there's a few instruments I can't play, but in terms of like a rock band, I can pretty much play all of the rock band instruments. Can't play the glockenspiel or any of those other crazy ones. I can do a pretty mean kazoo, but yeah. And then in terms of the art side, I really enjoy photography and videography, and got into that kind of out of high school. I was in art classes my whole life, and I couldn't take like my entire easel to college and justify it, so I bought a digital camera, and this is just kind of how it got me into it. Started just taking pictures of people, and at the time my wife was my girlfriend, so I would just take pictures of her walking around campus. And then someone randomly asked me if I would take pictures of their engagement. And I was like, well, I can try, but don't judge real hard if you're really loose with me, So as I just kept doing that more and more, really just fell in love with that medium. It's just really a very personal and a social thing. I love being able to interact with people and then know how to interact with them in a certain way to get the reaction for the photo that I'm looking for. I say ridiculous things to get people to laugh, and those end up being some of the best photos that I take. So,
you're good.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about how long we've known each other. It's been, I think, 12 years. 12 years, I think, because it's been about the time I started at Rock Point.
2008, is that it?
2000, yeah, 2008.
I was a high school senior.
Actually, the story of how Jake and I met, when I first started coming to Rock Point, Initially, I would, like the first maybe Sunday or two when I was checking it out, I sat in the back. But I've never been good at sitting in the back, and so one Sunday came and I sat up in the second row, like center.
Bold.
And it's a bold move. It's
Very
bold. It was a little bit too bold because I came in, I sat in the center of the pew, and in general, people, like, if they don't know you, they leave, it's polite to leave a person distance on each side, like on,
Sure.
like between you and them. And so I had one person who came and sat on one side of me, and they left a space. And then somebody else came and sat on the other side of me and left a space. And so now it looked like in this packed church of people at the second row, here I am, and there's a space on either side of me. It looked like I farted or something, and nobody, and it just was so super awkward. And I just chuckled about it and I laughed. I didn't take it personal by any means. But after the service, I was kind of just sitting there, and I had my eyes closed, and I was just in a moment of just
Probably
kind of prayer.
in deep prayer.
And then all of a sudden, I just feel like somebody is sitting like next to me. And so I open my eyes, and there's Jake.
Oh, man.
And Jake's sitting there, and he's like, hey, my name's Jake. You'll remember me. The message today was about Jacob, and that's my name. So, I just, I felt like I got this nudge to come over and say hello and introduce myself. And we sat, we talked to each other. You were graduating senior at that time.
Yeah,
we
it was
struck
my
up,
senior year. Yep.
Struck up a conversation, and then we were kind of friends from ever since. And I was just impressed that you would just come and sit and talk to me. Actually, I think you were the first person to welcome me.
I'm impressed.
To Rock Point.
I don't
about
remember doing that as well as you do.
And it stuck out to me. It was like, this is a really cool community. So how long have you been at Rock Point?
So my parents had me starting coming when I was 4, and this will date me because I'm turning 30 this year, so that'll be 26 years this October that I've been here at the church as it's my home church. On staff, it will be, 9 years in May, and 10 years next year as the worship pastor, so it's nuts. It's crazy.
So what are your favorite things about this place?
Man, there's a lot. We've always been a very creative place. I have a lot of fond memories of my mom, who was on staff here for a long time. She was always involved in the creative arts team, which if some of you haven't been going here too long, we used to have a really, really amazing acting and creative ministry. It's called the Creative Arts Team, and or CAT for short. And they would make these amazing sets. Like I have a really great photo of one time they recreated a floor-to-ceiling library look on the sanctuary stage, complete with a ladder that you could move across, just for the series that they were in. And so growing up with this, I was always brought on to help, construct these. And my mom was super gifted, and the whole team, Keith Taylor was involved at that time. As well, and so they would just come up with these amazing things. They did these really cool things with foam, where they would get the burners, and they would burn foam to make it look like rock, and then spray paint it so it would look like stone. And so I love just that creativity to say, make the gospel come alive, because that's where I feel like I fell in love with Jesus, was from my own church's energy that they put in the gospel coming alive. I have a really fond memory of our church doing this skit or play or sketch, and I believe it was written by a host of people as well as Steve Fry, but it was called Storyteller. And it was one of the most provocative, from start to finish, this person who wanders from God and then comes back with all this amazing music and Bible stories weaved in. I was just blown away. And so when I think of growing up here, those are those memories that I have of they care so much to make the gospel accessible to you, to hopefully you can see it in a brand new way, and then allow Jesus to really become more of a relationship rather than just a spectator thing. So a lot of fond memories with that, a lot of fond memories of youth retreats, going to this one place where there was this giant sled hill. It was just massive, probably 120 feet. They called it, what did they call it? It was some ridiculous name, but literally the big attraction was for 120 feet from the top to bottom, you just take a sled all the way down super. I'm sure it was really safe at the time. But yeah, that and then going to Camp Faholo, just a lot of like God moments for me personally. And at the time, Kent was my youth pastor as well for several moments, and he really poured into me as well. And so just a lot. I have a lot of fond memories here.
Tell us a little bit, like, I mean, you've grown up in the church, and how has that shaped your perspective and shaped your walk in, you know, positive and maybe even negative ways?
Yeah, I realized that there are so many people in my life that I maybe at the time took for granted that they were there, but people like JP or gosh, just so many. They were youth group leaders or people who just decided to take interest in my life at the time. And I think at the time I took them for granted, but realizing now that they're still around and their heart and their attitude has shaped me. One of the biggest takeaways, I think, from just seeing it modeled by people is that this church has become like a second home for me. You know, when I'm at home, I've become a little bit more nitpicky and clean freak at home, but I think that attitude of respecting the church and God's house has really been modeled from the staff here and the people that love this place, because man, you see something on the ground, you don't just wait for someone else to pick it up. You clean up after yourself and you put the things away, and you I think that was modeled in me because I started serving places like the many people might not know this, but I started serving in the nursery, and then Super Kids Church before that, and then the nursery, taking after toddlers with Kathy Brown of all people. And then I went to the cafe, and then I got involved in the youth group worship band, and then I got involved in running video camera for Sunday morning service. And like I've done all these different things that have just shown me a different side of how to serve, all the while being poured into as a student, as somebody who was just learning about God. And then there's just so much love and thoughtfulness kind of showered towards me through all those different experiences. So that's just all where I come from, is like this place. It's given me such a sense of home. I can remember sleeping on pews, napping on pews.
Hopefully not during service.
No, like during the day, you know, our mom would bring us here after school, and I remember people just like nudging me awake, like, hey, get up, like mom's ready to go, you know, just a lot of fond memories. And so I think that's the attitude I take here now. I have such an appreciation for this building. I remember when this entire atrium wasn't even here, and we just used to play football on this space, which was this tiny little strip of grass right in front of our church. And just really fond memories of that, and kind of.
So to come home and become the worship pastor must have been a real delight. Walk us through kind of like you graduated from high school, went off to college, and then came back. Give us a little bit of that story.
So when I was here in the youth group, there was someone who was leading worship at the time, and they got married and moved a little bit far away. And I was asked to step in and help lead worship. And I was like, oh, well, I'm on the team, but I've never done that before. And there was just a lot of trust, which I appreciate, but I'm sure it was terrible on the other end. I have a lot of grace for people who are in worship ministries now because of that, because I was kind of just thrust into this position. So that was just always involved in worship here at the church. It's second nature. So when I go to college after just leading worship for the youth group, I instantly want to get involved in campus ministry and whatever they have going on. And so one of the first weekends there was something called Campus Praise Rally, or CPR for short. And it was just a time where anyone could come and worship. And at the end of it, they said, hey, we're campus ministry, and we put this event on once a month, and we're just looking for drummers. And I remember I told you earlier, that was my first instrument. And so that was really comfortable for me. And so I put my information in, and they get back to me, and I'm in the audition, and they're like, oh, that's great. You know, great audition for drums. And just so you know, we normally don't let freshmen in, but you're pretty good, and we need drummers. And I was like, sweet. And then I was like, as a really quick, like, but I also lead worship. And they're like, no, we don't need that right now. We just need drummers. So I was like, okay, all right. So for a year, I just kind of was just worshiping on the team at college as a drummer, and it was fantastic. I loved every moment of that. And then they kind of transitioned that to be more student-led worship. And the person who was in the room when I auditioned the year before, who remembered me saying that I was a worship leader, was like, hey, would you want to be one of those student leaders? And I said, yeah, I would love that. Kind of miss playing guitar and being involved. And so I ended up becoming one of the student interns at Grand Valley for their campus ministry for the whole. And there's a bunch of different ministries on campus, but campus ministry is called CM at GVSU, was one of the larger ones. And so I began leading probably 2 or 3 services a month, and they had a morning and an evening service every Sunday, and then on top of that, the campus praise rallies. So I was leading, 3 or 4 times a month, and just really loving the community that's involved in campus ministry and getting to know people. So one weekend, Randy came to visit me, and I was like, this is cool, out of the blue, really cool, and he basically asked me to intern for the summer and to be a worship intern here. And I was like, oh, that's great. I need a summer job. Sounds good. And I ended up mowing the lawn, too, at the same time. And at the end of the internship, which it was an awesome internship, just learned a lot. At the end of the internship, he kind of told me, hey, by the way, I think that you're supposed to be in this role because the person we have in place is transitioning to a new role. And I wasn't being facetious with you, but I wanted to see with this internship kind of where you were at. And I'd love for you to consider this. And I was just like wide-eyed and shocked. And like I said, I've just been involved my whole life volunteering. I never would have thought that God would call me into full-time ministry. And I think the reason I decided to say yes, eventually I said yes. I'll skip the long story. It was a process for me. The reason I think I said yes is for those same reasons I said to you earlier. This is a place where when I went away to college and I came home, this was my home. And I thought to myself, I could stay at Grand Valley and continue kind of where I was, but in 4 years, they're going to have another one of me. They're going to have plenty more students. But this is my home. And this is where I would want to raise kids. This is where I want to help other people grow in their faith and their ministry. And I thought, if this is going to be something God is calling me to do, I feel it here. I feel called here. Like home is, and there's many challenges, obviously, that come with that. But I felt called. And so, obviously, as you know, fill in the blank, I accepted the role, and now it's going to be almost 10 years. And it really blows my mind how God, it's a very similar situation with youth group. I felt very new and ill-equipped and humbled, if that makes sense. And I think what happened from that is God just reminded me of his faithfulness when I was feeling ill-equipped and inadequate. He's just asking me, do you trust me? Do you know that I have you? And I really had a lot of trust for Randy and the rest of the staff, and so it wasn't a hard decision in terms of trust. It may have been a hard decision for my wife because we weren't married yet. We were not even engaged yet, and to bring her onto that whole process of God calling me, it was a big transition in my life. But I'm so grateful for God's faithfulness throughout that and giving me mercy, and the rest of the church giving me grace amidst screwing up a lot publicly and fumbling over my words, which I still do, as you can tell. But I'm just so grateful for that, and this community really just enveloping me. And now I'm surrounded by people who know nothing but me as the worship pastor here, and it freaks me out because I'm like, wait, what? Wait, oh, that's weird. So, yeah, it's been a journey.
We're gonna jump to a couple questions in a moment here, but first, what I want to, if there's any in the live stream, but before we get to those, one last question. So, as you came up as a kid and have run these hallways and know all the nooks and crannies, as you're seeing now your 2 sons coming up and your family growing here, give me a little perspective on just how that has changed, maybe some of your perspective or what maybe you've seen in a different way.
Yeah, I think becoming a father has drastically changed my perspective of this whole thing. Life, my faith, the church, everything, because I see how the church showed up for me when I was little, and now I'm seeing other people show up for my kids and the people I surround my children with. And it's giving me all sorts of like, whoa, this is pretty incredible. And it's given me an even greater sense of appreciation for our church, knowing that any of our staff, any of our close group in this church, I can count on them for anything. I can say, hey, I really need something, my kids X, Y, Z, and they'll just show up. And it's really just been an extension. This church is an extension of my family. I feel like I can trust so many people with not only my kids, but my life and my friends. And it's not just a building. It's so much more. And I think this is why this is so ironic, is because I don't feel, it does feel weird, but I don't feel like I'm disconnected from the community and the church, because the church is those relationships, it's those people. And I'm still trying to regularly FaceTime them and talk to them, and it might be strange not to gather at this point, but I'm really looking forward to when we do. I'm gonna hug lots of people.
She's gonna have a line.
You're
gonna hug. You start a line.
Get your all right, next. It's gonna fill me up.
I am looking forward to, we talk about being just a creative space, the different creative ways that we're finding to connect to each other in this time, and that's part of our roots as a community. So I'm going to jump to Julia, see if there's any questions that the audience wants to know. She's got a smile on her face.
I think this one was a loaded question, but Colin Curry is asking, were you a resident assistant at GVSU? That's the first part of the question. So were you a resident assistant?
Yes, I was an RA at Grant Valley.
Okay.
Yes.
And he wants to know, if so, who were your favorite residents of all time?
I'm just going to share the story. He's such a funny guy. So my wife was an RA when I was a freshman. That's actually how we met. I met Amanda because she was the third floor RA in my building. Haley was on the third floor and was one of Amanda's residents. I met Amanda, we started dating, yada, yada. Well, 2 years into going to Grand Valley, I become an RA, and Colin is one of my residents. Literally, I don't think he was next door. He might have been, I don't remember. Maybe Colin can fill me in, but all of a sudden, yeah, he and Haley end up, I had a class with Haley too, which was crazy. But yeah, they end up finding each other, and then maybe Colin can clarify this, but there was a reason he didn't want to come to this church at first, and I just can't remember why.
I think he didn't want to be hugged by you.
I think he was like scared that he knew me,
scared to be
and
hugged.
He would just get a big hug or something. I don't know.
And now you guys are like in small groups
together.
together.
Yeah, now he's like one of my best friends.
Best friends. That's so awesome. Okay, so let's see. Sherry is asking, what is your all-time favorite song?
Oh, gosh.
And why?
That is an unfair question. So unfair. There's so many amazing songs. Is there a clarification if it's a worship song or just song in general?
Well, it came right after you talking about being the worship pastor, so let's go with worship song, just because that's your
worship
deal.
Song. Wow, that is really tough.
Oh, Colin, while you're thinking, said he didn't want to go to church by Hull Road.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's why.
So busy.
Right.
Yeah.
We're at 16 Mile. We're
He's
not
glad
by
he
Hull
came.
Road.
17 and a half.
Yeah, come on. Favorite worship song? Well, I'll go. Oh, man, that's so not fair. I'll go with an older one because it's. I have a lot of memories with like youth group and everything like that. It's an old one called "Your Love Is Extravagant," and it just talks about being in the presence of God, and no greater love have I ever known. You consider me a friend, you know. I love that song. Yeah, Your Love Is Extravagant.
Krista wants to know if you'll play it for us. So maybe in a little bit. So remember that. Lauren Hendricks says, what's your favorite thing to do with your family?
Favorite thing to do with my family? Okay, so two things. Lately, we have established a new rhythm at our house called Pizza Night. Friday's pizza and movie night.
Nice.
And when we started doing this, it was at the beginning of the year, and I just looked at my wife and I said, I really want to like make this something special for Luca and for our kids. And so I literally one night, I like told her, I'm like, we're going to tell him. And so I go, hey, Luca, do you know what tonight is? He's like, what? And I'm like, pizza night? And so now, it's only like 3 months in. So now, we're like, hey, Luca, what's today? He goes, pizza night? And it's just like one of my favorite things. And then we started doing this probably for, I think it was Luca's 3rd birthday. Either that or, it was not terribly long ago, but we bought these miniature little Nerf guns. One for me, one for Amanda, one for Luca, and then Jameson has one, but it's not opened yet because he's not safe. Bought these Nerf guns, and we just wanted to like make it a tradition to like have Nerf gun wars periodically throughout the year. And I'm really glad I opened them the night before because they were super powerful. Like I'm telling you, I loaded one, shot it. I'm like, we're gonna need eye protection. Like no joke. They're these little $4 like Nerf guns, this big and super powerful. And so we go the night before to a Dollar Tree and we just buy these like protective glasses because they're so intense. And so now Luca knows whenever we play Nerf gun wars, we have to wear eye protection, and it's really fun. He always wants to pick whose team he's on and stuff like that. It's pretty amazing.
I remember there being stories of you and your brothers having pretty big Nerf gun wars.
Yeah, they were more so, they were like these plunger dart guns. Yeah, and they were like crossbows. So
I will say I ran into your oldest brother in
Joe.
Yeah, in a ultimate frisbee game, and I hit him, and he is like a brick wall.
Oh yeah.
Like I went
He'll
down.
pick me up out of nowhere, and I'm just like, dude.
He's just, I mean, he doesn't look it, but yeah, it's like running into a brick wall.
It's that old man strength.
Old man strength.
You
Any other questions?
You get it from having
Yeah,
kids.
so Sherry did clarify she meant in general. So
Okay, in
I don't
general.
know if that your answer would change if like in general.
I'll
Jeff
think about it.
Brown is asking, who is your favorite coworker? Oh, you have
That's
two.
just a mean
See, I
question.
know. Like, and Krista's like,
mean, that's
another
easy.
loaded question.
That's easy. It's Rob.
Oh.
I'm just kidding.
Oh.
No. I have such an affinity for everyone on staff. They're incredible, but particularly, everybody. They're great. It's a loaded question.
It is a loaded question. You just said we were all family
Yes.
earlier, so
Yeah.
I mean that's like saying who's your favorite kid,
Oh yeah, no.
right? Like there's.
I mean,
you
everyone knows
can't-
that, but
Yes. Do you have any dirt on Colin, since you know
Dirt
him
on
from being
Colin.
his RA and everything?
no.
Brown asked that.
Colin was an awesome resident.
When he was a resident.
He honestly, he was like an RA junior. I always told him like, you should be an RA when you next year, because I could literally just be like, hey Colin, can you like get everyone together? He'd be like, all right people, so and it was great. No, I don't have a lot of dirt. Only just he didn't want to come to our church at first because of me, and look what happened,
It
Colin.
felt personal.
It did. It's okay. He told me that to my face and then was like, I was so wrong. It's okay.
What kind of father do you strive to be like for Luca and Jameson?
Guys, this is like a 40-minute show? What are you going to do? So I was reading today, and I think it was Psalm 47 or 77. I don't remember where. There was a 7 in it. 20. No, it's not 27. But it was talking about how it was saying like, "Hear, O Israel, we need to pass on this the great works of God to the next generation and be the father of the next generation and to pass it on to our children." And it just really hit me that in the same way I was talking about this church and having kids now growing up in this church, I really want my son, it's something I pray for every night, I want them to know that they are just so loved by not only this church but by us, and that they I pray over them every night that they would know that they are God's workmanship, they're his masterpiece, and they too were made for a purpose. It's something I pray all the time over them. And lately now, it's that I want them to know the same, just how wide and deep and big and great is the love of God for them. And like I said, I could go on for hours. Becoming a father just shown me so much about my faith and how God must feel about us. But yeah, I'll give you a...
So as don't want to take this too long, as we're kind of just closing, I want to just kind of bring this idea in terms of what, Jake talked about God the Father, and I want to just tell a real quick story, and then we can move to close. But one of the things about my relationship with Jake, when I was at the church I was previously, we had a little worship team, and we had collected this big binder of music. And I had a couple of my friends, or couple of kids in the group who were working with Static at the time, which was a Bible study group at Henry Ford High School. I don't know what the acronym is.
Students taking action together in Christ.
That's Static. And so two of my kids came up to me and they said, hey, we want to do worship at Static. Can we borrow this binder? And I said, sure, but I want to see this binder back. And so I gave it to them, and they were both kind of graduating, so at the end of the year, I'm like, can I have my binder? And they're like, we don't know what binder you're talking about. And I never saw it again. And a couple years into being at Rock Point, one day Jake and I are hanging out at his house, and we're just talking, and we're realizing that we know some of the same people. He had said, hey, I used to be part of Static, and I used to lead worship. And I said to him, have you ever seen, a large binder filled with music? And he's like, oh yeah, so-and-so gave that to me. And I'm like, do you happen to know where that is? And he gets up and he goes off to his room, and he comes back, and here is my binder. And I'm looking through it, and I'm seeing all my own old notes, and he's like, do you want it back? I'm like, well, by now it doesn't matter, and so I gave it back to him. But what was interesting was when Jake was first starting to do worship, this was the binder that he ended up with. And it was a binder that we didn't know each other. It was a binder that I had put together. It had all my notes in it. And the thing that caught me as I was sitting there looking at it is God just works in ways connecting our stories and connecting who we are, and in these different creative ways that we can't quite understand and grasp. And it's so cool to connect those dots, to go back and look in the years of how God has been faithful to us. In the background, always tying different stories together. And as we kind of walk into this time and we have all of this uncertainty around us, as we are processing through all of the things that are happening, the missed expectations, the lost goodbyes, kind of this just new world that we're in, some of the comfort that we have is that God is faithful to us, that he is connecting our stories in ways that we don't know yet. He's crafting something new. And so tonight I thought we'd do something just a little bit different. And what I wanted to do is just close in a little bit of worship and have a time for us to just try to think about God's faithfulness in this time, in the way that he seeks us out, in the ways that he connects our stories, in the ways that he does things that we never really could imagine. Some of my picture of heaven is we get to see the full picture of all the things that God has been doing over the millennia. And so my hope is, as we look at what each day brings to us, the new questions, the new developments, the things that we don't quite grasp and understand, for me is just to remember the faithfulness of God in my life over the years and years. All the things that he does, all the things that he connects, all the things that he creates, and he does it just for us. And so I just want to take this moment, put it before God, and say, we trust what you're shaping. And we're so glad that even in the distance, that we can still find ways to connect with each other. Father God, I just thank you for who you are. God, I thank you for loving us even in our imperfections, even in our worries and our questions and our uncertainties. Your love extends beyond that. And God, you are writing a story. You've been writing a story from the beginning of time. And in this chapter, as we are sorting everything out, God, we know that you are true and that you are faithful and that you love us. In Jesus' name.
I love you, Lord. Oh, your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, I will sing of the goodness of God. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing the goodness of God. I love your voice. You have led me through the fire and darkest night. You are close like no other. I've known you as a father. I've known you as a friend. And I have lived in the goodness of God. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing the goodness of God. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, surrendered now, I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing the goodness of God. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down and surrendered now, I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. And even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you work it. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you work it. You never stop working. You never stop. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Oh, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. For 'cause all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I will sing of the goodness of God.
God, we're just warmed by your presence. And even the moments when we have questions, we are grateful that you sit patiently and listen to those questions, that even in our doubt, that you never lose faith in us, in your children, that your gaze is steady, that your promises are true, that your love is deeper and brighter than all of the darkness that we face. And so, God, we don't always know what we're heading into, but God, we know your character and we know that you love us. And my prayer tonight is that that would be enough for us, that that would be sufficient. Hold us in your arms. Provide us with reassurance and comfort. Because we know, as the song says, all your promises are yes and amen. And we thank you for that. Tune in this Sunday for the close of Coat of Many Colors. And then the week following, we're going to have Good Friday with the church and Easter Sunday. And I'm going to encourage you guys to tune into those things. Be a part of community. Connect. I know it's easy to just kind of sit in your room and bum around, but we're here and we love you and we want to connect with you and we want to be with you, whatever way that is. And so we're just grateful that you tuned in tonight, or if maybe you're catching it later on. And we just love you very much. And we will see you next time.
Hey, do you want me to play Your Love is Extravagant?
Yeah, give us Your Love is Extravagant.
Play 'em out a little bit. This is probably one of your favorites too. Your love is extravagant. Your friendship, ooh, it's intimate. I find I'm moving to the rhythms of your grace. Your fragrance is intoxicating in our secret place. Your love, oh, your love, Lord, is extravagant. Spread wide in the arms of Christ. His love covers sin, and no greater love have I ever known. You consider me a friend, capture my heart again. Oh, I sing your love. Oh, your love, Lord, is extravagant. Your friendship, oh, your friendship, Lord, ooh, it's intimate. I find I'm moving to the rhythms of your grace. Your fragrance is intoxicating in a secret place. Your love, oh, your love, Lord, is extravagant. Spread wide in the arms of Christ is a love that covers sin. No greater love have I ever known. You consider me a friend and spread wide in the arms of Christ is a love that covers sin. No greater love have I ever known. You consider me a friend. Lord, capture my heart again. Oh, capture my heart again.
See you guys next week.